I once dropped something in the hospital restroom, and it was returned to me. But that became the reason I never dared to be alone in a hospital again. About 2 years ago, I was hospitalized due to migraines. That night, I woke up suddenly with the urge to use the bathroom. I got out of bed and walked straight to the restroom at the end of the hallway. While sitting there, I pulled out my phone and played with it for a while. Suddenly, I heard slow, dragging footsteps, like someone was slowly approaching. I looked down through the gap beneath the door. I saw a pair of wrinkled, skinny feet, probably belonging to an elderly person, maybe in their 60s or 70s. At first, I didn't think much of it, assuming it was another patient like me. Then I heard the sound of water dripping onto the floor. Curious, I looked down again. The feet were still standing still, but blood was dripping down, forming a dark red puddle. A sense of dread crept up inside me. I quickly pushed the door open and stepped out, but I froze. There was no one outside. Only a pool of blood where the person had been standing. The restroom light began flickering, flashing on and off. Terrified, I ran straight back to my room without daring to look back. Around 2 a.m., just as I was drifting off, I heard those dragging footsteps again, like someone slowly approaching. This time, I dared to crack my eyes open, my heart pounding in my chest. An old man, around 60 or 70, was slowly walking toward me.
Young man, you left this in the restroom. Take it.
I followed his hand with my eyes. God, it was my phone! Before I could even thank him, he had already turned to leave. I thought to myself how lucky I was that he had picked it up for me. The next morning, I searched all around the hospital to thank that old man, but couldn't find him. Finally, I asked the nurse when she came in to check on me. "Excuse me, have you seen an elderly man, around 60 or 70, around here?"
There's only the old man in the room next to yours. But he passed away last night.
Hearing that, I was stunned into silence. I didn't say another word to anyone. When I opened my phone, I discovered a strange photo taken during the night. It was a picture of me sleeping, with the old man standing beside my bed. He was staring straight at me with a grin that stretched from ear to ear. Right after that, I called my mom to pick me up immediately. I never wanted to stay in that terrifying place for even another minute.
I never used to believe in ghosts, but that no longer mattered after what I had experienced. Hello, my name is Doris. I am 25 years old, and the story I am about to tell has haunted me ever since. Back then, my mother fell seriously ill and had to be hospitalized. Worried about her, I stayed at the hospital to take care of her. She was placed in an old room at the end of the hallway. The doctors didn't want her to stay there, but the hospital had run out of rooms. I didn't think much of it. After all, every hospital had old rooms, didn't they? But on the very first night I stayed, I began to feel that something was wrong. As I was about to close my eyes, a strange sound came from the bathroom. At first, it was just a light movement, as if someone inside was trying to open the door. But then, it turned faster, stronger, until the door burst open with a loud click. I swallowed hard and stepped forward to check. There was no sign that anyone had just been in there. Shaking my head, I told myself that I was just too tired and imagining things. But just as I turned away, a sob echoed. A faint, mournful sound that sent chills down my spine. It came from the very same bathroom. My heart pounded as I looked back inside. Yet there was no one there. When I glanced at the mirror above the sink, I saw a child. pale skin, hollow eyes weeping blood. Suddenly, a chorus of laughter rang out, filling the room as if dozens of children were laughing at once. I stumbled back, my heart racing, and hastily flipped the light switch. The boy and the laughter vanished. At that moment, the door to the room swung open. A pregnant nurse walked in to check my mother's temperature. She was thin, her face pale, and her uniform looked worn as if it had been used for a long time. I glanced at the clock on the wall, feeling strange. Wasn't it too late for rounds? The nurse smiled gently and said,
Hello, I'm here to check the patient's temperature.
I returned her smile and asked, I see, but you're still working this late? She smiled again.
It's our responsibility after all.
As she took my mother's temperature, she told me a story about this room. She said that about 10 years ago, a nurse had secretly aborted her child in that very bathroom. Overcome with guilt, she had jumped out of the window. Her body was found in the parking lot the next morning. Hearing this, I immediately told her about what I had seen earlier in the bathroom. She listened, then smiled and said,
Perhaps the boy was the spirit of the unborn child.
I quickly asked, How do you know that? She chuckled and said,
I made it up.
With that, she left the room, leaving me in suffocating silence. Just then, I noticed a drop of blood slowly trailing down her leg. Panicked, I rushed to the door, intending to call her back, but the hallway was empty. Not a soul, not a single sound. I stood frozen, a chill creeping down my spine, making the hairs on my neck stand on end. When I returned to the room, my mother was fast asleep. I lay down on my bed, but no matter how much I tried, I couldn't sleep. The night dragged on, each tiny noise making me jump until I finally saw the first light of dawn. When the doctor came to check on my mother, I told him everything that had happened the night before. He listened, his eyes thoughtful but not surprised. Then he said slowly,
There have been many rumors about this room, but there is no pregnant nurse working at our hospital.
My chest tightened, my mind swirling with confusion. Then who was she? A shiver ran through me. Could she have been the nurse who had aborted her child and jumped from the window? The following days, everything seemed to return to normal until my mother was discharged. As I helped her out of the room, I instinctively turned back, and I saw the nurse standing by the window, holding a baby in her arms. Panicked, I rubbed my eyes. But when I looked again, she was gone, as if she had never been there.
I still vividly remember that night, gloomy, cold, and haunting. No matter how much I try to forget, it remains etched deep in my mind, like a knife carving into my flesh. I am Selena, 27 years old, currently working as a reporter for a prestigious newspaper. That night, I worked later than usual. When I left the office, the digital clock flickered, displaying 11:47 p.m. The streets were sparse, the streetlights flickering as if they were about to go out, leaving thick patches of darkness covering the road. I quickened my pace, feeling a vague sense of unease, though I wasn't sure why. Suddenly, I heard voices coming from the alley I had just passed.
Please, don't kill me. I won't tell anyone. Please.
I stopped in my tracks, slowly stepping toward the source of the voice, straining to hear what was happening. In the dim light, I saw a middle-aged man kneeling on the filthy ground, his trembling hands raised in a plea for mercy. Facing him stood a figure in a dark coat, his face hidden in the shadows. Then he pulled out a rope, looped it around the poor man's neck, and tightened it. His body thrashed violently before quickly going limp and collapsed onto the cold ground. No. I was frozen in place. As I instinctively stepped back, my foot accidentally kicked a glass bottle. The killer whipped around, his hollow, emotionless eyes locking onto mine. I turned and ran, my heart pounding violently in my chest. Footsteps thundered behind me, drawing closer. With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone, my fingers shaking as I dialed 911. There's a murderer. He's chasing me. I glanced back. He was gaining on me. Panicked, my heel caught on the uneven pavement. sending me tumbling forward. My phone flew from my grasp, skidding across the ground before cracking. I panted, my knee throbbing in pain, but I couldn't stop. With no other choice, I pushed myself up and limped forward, hoping the police could trace my call. I made a sharp turn into another alley, only to realize too late that I had run into a dead end. Trapped, I turned to face the killer. A smirk played at the corner of his lips.
Go on, run. Do you really think you can escape?
Stay back. I already called the police. I stepped backward, my hands fumbling behind me until they landed on a rusted metal rod. He lunged at me. I swung the rod, but he dodged effortlessly. With a swift move, he grabbed the rod, tossed it aside, and shoved me against the damp wall. I felt his cold hands wrap around my throat, tightening slowly, cutting off my air. I clawed at his arms, kicked frantically, my mind growing hazy. I couldn't die here.
Stop struggling. You're going to die.
Using the last of my strength, I lifted my knee and slammed it into his groin. He howled in pain and collapsed, his grip loosening. I hurriedly ran away. But after just a few steps, he had already lunged forward, grabbed my ankle, and sent me crashing to the ground.
You bitch, I'll kill you!
He staggered to his feet, raising the knife, his eyes bloodshot, his breath ragged like a wild beast. I couldn't die like this. I forced myself up and stumbled forward. Suddenly, a sharp, searing pain tore through my back. I froze, my body swaying. He wrenched the knife from my flesh, and the agony sent me crashing to my knees.
It's time to end this.
Please, don't kill me. I didn't see anything.
Too late. Anyone who sees me dies.
Just as I was about to surrender to the darkness, hurried footsteps echoed in the alley, growing closer. The killer stiffened, his knife poised mid-air, eyes darting toward the alley entrance. A few police officers, guns at the ready, were running toward me.
Drop your weapon.
The killer sprang to his feet, a manic glint in his eyes, and charged at the officers, knife in hand. A bullet pierced straight through his chest, the gunshot echoing loudly, shattering the silence. His body jerked, stumbling back before collapsing onto the cold pavement. Before I lost consciousness completely, I felt myself being lifted and rushed out of the alley. I woke up in a hospital bed, my throat dry and burning, each breath labored. A sharp pain radiated from my back, piercing through every fiber of my body when I tried to move. Sometime later, a police officer arrived to take my statement. He told me the killer had died that night. He had been hired to assassinate the middle-aged man due to a business dispute. In the following weeks, I returned to work. My wounds had healed, but the memories of that night still haunted me. Every time I passed that alley, I could still feel the chilling grip of fear wrapping around me.
I have a friend named Emma who is 25 years old. She once had a beautiful love story with a man named William, who was 3 years older than her. At first, William loved and spoiled her, making her believe she had found the perfect partner. But soon, his love became suffocating and turned into a nightmare. William controlled Emma too much. He didn't let her meet her friends, not even her closest girlfriends. When she couldn't take it anymore, she decided to break up. But William didn't let her go easily. At first, he begged her desperately, but then he started threatening her. One day, he kidnapped Emma. She woke up in a strange room, her hands and feet tied tightly. William spoke softly.
Hello, my love.
William's voice was gentle, but it sent chills down Emma's spine. She tried to move, but the ropes were too tight and hurt her wrists. Emma shouted angrily.
Let me go, William!
William tilted his head and smiled.
You are mine. I won't let you leave me.
He walked closer and touched her face. Emma tried to turn away, but she couldn't do anything. William wanted Emma to love him again and obey him. He clenched his teeth and said,
Emma, say you love me. Say it!
Emma struggled, but the more she resisted, the tighter he held her. She yelled,
I hate you! I regret ever loving you!
Hearing this, William's eyes filled with rage. He immediately slapped Emma hard. Emma felt a burning pain on one side of her face, and the sharp sting made her dizzy. William shouted angrily,
I did everything for you. And you? You want to leave me? You betrayed me.
Emma screamed back.
William, you are crazy! You disgust me!
William became more furious. He punched and slapped her repeatedly until her lips bled. The days after that were a never-ending nightmare. Whenever she resisted, he beat her, starved her, and left her weak and trembling. But after hurting her, he would hold her close, kiss her forehead, and comfort her like a child. Emma soon realized that the more she fought back, the more violent he became. She spoke softly.
William, I'm sorry for hurting you.
She knew she had to act the way he wanted, at least until she found a way to escape. Without waiting for his reaction, she smiled gently and said,
These days, I realize that I still love you.
William seemed surprised by her reaction. His eyes widened in shock. Even though she wanted to push him away, Emma held back. She had to think fast and find a way to escape this horrible place. William smiled happily.
Good girl. I knew you still loved me.
Emma then said softly,
William, I want to hug you, but my hands are tied.
Without hesitation, William untied her ropes. Emma watched as he loosened each knot, feeling relieved inside. She gave him a weak smile and whispered,
Thank you, William. I love you.
William smiled with satisfaction, stroking her head like a pet. Emma then saw a bottle of wine on the table. Slowly, she walked over and poured some into a glass. She handed it to William and smiled.
William, I am really happy to be with you.
William was completely off guard. He took the glass of wine from Emma's hand and brought it to his lips to drink. Seizing the moment, Emma grabbed the wine bottle and smashed it over his head. Emma ran to the door, but it was locked. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't open it. She looked around the room, searching for anything to help her escape. Then she saw a rusty iron rod in the corner. Without hesitation, she grabbed it and used all her strength to hit the door. After several strikes, the door finally broke open. Emma ran outside without looking back. Later, she called the police, but when they arrived, William was gone. There were no signs of torture or blood in the apartment. In fact, the apartment was Emma's home, but she truly believed she had been kidnapped. The police thought she had mental health issues and sent her to the hospital for treatment. A few days later, they found a man's body in an abandoned house outside the city. His body had multiple stab wounds from a broken wine bottle found at the scene. After investigating, the police confirmed that the victim was William. They also found Emma's fingerprints at the crime scene. However, when they questioned her, she had no memory of killing William. After suffering such a huge trauma, Emma could no longer tell what was real and what was just a nightmare in her mind. Now she is in the hospital, receiving treatment for PTSD and paranoid disorder.